doing, right? I was pushing through. I was acting like everything was fine. And now I'm having thoughts of suicide from the moment I wake up until the moment I go to bed. And everything came to a head one night when I was standing on the balcony of my 4-story apartment, and I'm looking out at the Raleigh skyline. It's a very humble skyline. Not sure if we have anybody from Raleigh, North Carolina on the call tonight. But for me, it was just this 10 minutes where I would go out after work, I would stand on the balcony and I would watch the sunset. And for whatever reason, it quieted my mind. Just for that 10 minutes, it quieted my mind. Well, one particular night, I'm out there and I'm looking around. You know, I'm looking at the sun. I'm just kind of taking everything in. And I put my hands on the railing and I just look over the edge. And I was just looking around, and boom, a thought pops up into my head. And the thought tells me that if I throw myself off the balcony face first, that I can get the job done, that I can complete suicide, and that I can take myself out of my misery. And I fell back into the apartment and I curled up in a ball and I cried for what felt like an hour. I was broken, guys. I didn't care anymore who knew, who saw. I felt like I was at my breaking point. And after that cry, I called my parents and I told them what I was experiencing. And I'm very fortunate because although they didn't know what to do, they didn't judge me, and they told me that I needed to seek help. They didn't know what that looked like, but that I needed to seek help and that it was outside of their scope what I was going through. And so the very next day, I scheduled my first appointment with a therapist. And although she wasn't the one that I ultimately ended with, she was the one that got the process started. And in late 2016, I found a psychologist that knew what was going on with me. And I was diagnosed with a chronic brain disorder known as obsessive compulsive disorder, or OCD, where the core symptoms are severe anxiety, deep depression, and thoughts of suicide. And so I immediately started talk therapy that's specific to OCD, which is ERP, or exposure and response prevention, for anybody who's on the call that might believe that they have OCD as well. And over the next 2 years, I started my slow journey to recovery. And what I learned along the way is that it requires, Alex said telling my parents was the first step, and they were able to understand what I was going through. Highly recommend. Absolutely. It was such a relief for my parents to just not judge me, to be okay with it. But going on that journey, I learned that, talk therapy is one of the most important things you can do. Finding help, making the right lifestyle changes, and making the right mindset shifts. And one of the biggest things that I realized is that my mindset around mental health wasn't very healthy. So I want to ask you guys a question. What are some of the perspectives that you've heard as it pertains to mental health? And we're gonna fill out this slide together. So you guys tell me, what are some perspectives that you've heard as it pertains to mental health? It's just a phase. Absolutely. It's just a phase. Millennial problem. I like that one, Dan. Absolutely. Rohan nailed it. Is it my fault? Especially with men. I had a brother older in the house by 1 year than me. We finally got him therapy, but when he first started calling me about his depression, he was trying to figure out why he wasn't strong enough to get over it himself. I'm like, bro, you're thinking about this all wrong. Some people say just get over it. Absolutely. Get over it, Jack said. You've got such a good life. Absolutely. It's all in your head. Men have to stay 100%, Ben. Men have to stay strong. It can't be fixed. Hayden, good call out. That it's only about not caring what others think of you when it's so much more. 100%. Don't care about what others think about you. These are solid. So many people have it worse than you. Comparison. You've got it so good. How do others perceive me? 100%. You start turning inwards again. How are others going to think about me? Right? What if somebody finds out that I struggle with depression, or that I take an antidepressant, or that I have anxiety? What are they going to think about me? You always help others and seem happy. The mask. I love it. Alex, you nailed it. You always help others and seem happy.